Well, welcome everybody on Ascent's workshop on how to deal with dominant personalities. I'm so excited to dive in today. And really, today, this is like a sensitive issue for many of us. I think that's probably why you're showing up today. So I would love to just, let's take 30 seconds and just put in the chat, what are you struggling with? Why are you here today? Maybe you have a manager who is really difficult to deal with and they're shutting you down. Maybe it's a cross-functional partner. Maybe it's a report. Maybe it's a colleague who's not respecting your opinion. Put that in the chat. Like, why are you here today? What's that challenge you're facing? Just briefly share with us. And let's just take about 30 seconds for you to do that. So what is that challenge that you're facing? Just throw that in the chat. Share with us. All of it. LOL. I freeze when faced with conflict and dominant personalities. Yep. Difficult employees that are unsure about our mission and values. My partner. Major project stakeholders who are against the project and very outspoken about it. Yes. Don't like conflict. My supervisor. A coworker who has very strong opinions about how everything needs to be done. And that leaves no room for me to make decisions about my work. Yeah, that sounds really frustrating. Difficult reports that I manage, leaders with strong opinions. Thank you so much for sharing. These are real struggles. And I think we can see a lot of commonalities between our challenges, which makes digging into today so much more valuable and meaningful. Top management that thinks it's necessary to be tough and dominant to be a respected leader. Oh, yeah, that's hard. Confrontational personalities, yes. I've definitely struggled with so many of these. Thank you so much for sharing it. Hi, everyone. I am Shivani. I am the founder and CEO of Ascend. We offer an online leadership program for women. What inspired me to start Ascend was I used to be in your shoes. As I was moving up to management, I learned how to advocate for myself, push back against difficult stakeholders, rally people around my ideas, empower my teams, all by making a ton of mistakes. Some guidance, but probably just a lot of mistakes. I remember, so vividly, I was rolling off on a project. My team and I were handing over an operational piece of a new product that we just launched to the director of operations. We'll call him David. And David, everything was going really smoothly in the first couple of weeks of the transition. When I was meeting with David, he was all praises for my team's work. He was like, this is so good. We were getting along really well. And then about 4 weeks later, I hear that David, in an executive meeting with our CEO, completely questioned my team's work. He implied that we made a bunch of mistakes. And it was a meeting that I was not able to participate in, nor was my manager, the chief product officer. And so I couldn't defend my team's work. I felt thrown under the bus. After the meeting, I went to talk to David about it. And I tried to explain to him, reiterate why we made the decisions that we did. But he didn't listen. I felt dismissed. He didn't care what I had to say. I was so stressed. I was so frustrated. I knew that David's views and how he was sharing it was impacting my reputation at work, was impacting my team's ability to drive the impact that I know that they deserve and that they should have. So what did I do? Well, after a lot of painful efforts and stress, I finally figured out how to win David over. It worked so well that he actually apologized for his behavior and then started proactively coming to me to seek out my input and sharing with the executives about all the great work that me and my team were doing. Now, once I learned how to work with difficult stakeholders, once I learned how to influence and lead, I felt so much more confident. That's what helped me move into more senior leadership roles and impact not only my teams, but also our executives and our company's board of directors. These experiences, combined with the time I spent studying at Harvard Business School to get my MBA, inspired me to found Ascend. Our mission is to elevate more women into leadership. That's a big way we're going to see the change that we need to see in today's workplaces. But I realized we currently learn how to lead and influence through trial and error. We all know that we should get people to be invested in our ideas, that we should speak up, push back, but we don't. Either because 1, we're scared, 2, we don't cover at the time, or 3, we don't know how to get started. And when you practice these skills at work, it's high stakes. If you make a mistake, it can hurt your reputation or worse, especially when you're dealing with these dominant personalities. Because usually these people are in positions of power. And so you have to tread lightly around in these situations to fix them. That's why I created Ascend's leadership program. to create a safe space for women like you to push yourself out of your comfort zone, build lasting habits that help you influence and get the respect and be the leader that you know you're capable of, to be able to learn and become friends with the community of women who are going through similar challenges as you, and to move up faster in your career. And we're doing it. For example, Diana, she is a marketing lead at SAP. She joined the program right after she returned from maternity leave after having her first child. And she used the program strategies to help her drive better alignment in meetings. Her performance improved so much that she quickly got promoted, and she credited the program in helping her do so. I shared Diana's story with you to show that when you know how to influence, it helps you move up, because then you can tackle all these difficult stakeholders and everything else in between, no matter how tough the situation is. So today, we are going to dive into specific strategies that you can use to gain the respect and be seen as a valued partner from these dominant personalities. Now, this is a juicy and sensitive topic, so whatever questions you have, throw it in the Q&A. That's in the bottom right of your Zoom screen. You can add questions and upvote questions. I'll do Q&A at the end. And because it's such a juicy topic, it's personal to us, if something resonates with you, please throw it in the chat, share it with all of us. And remember to change your settings to everyone instead of host and panelists, which is the Zoom default. So change to everyone so we can all see it. Now, as we go through specific strategies, I'm going to have one of our alums come and share with you, Ellie. She's going to come share with you about how the program strategies helped her win over a difficult stakeholder at her work. So you can see this in action. Hey, Ellie, you'll see her back soon. Perfect. Thanks, Ellie. And so, all right, let's dive in. So put in the chat, why do you think some people ascend in their careers while others don't? Put that in the chat. Why do you think some people move up in their careers while others don't? Why do they get promoted while others don't? Maybe it's luck, right place, right time, skills, knowing the right people, likability, perception, visibility, politics, advocating for themselves. Yep. They're putting the effort, willingness to go get it. Yes. The ones who chat the loudest, their ability to manage up, confident when dealing with those personalities, smooth talking. Yes. And you know, the number one factor why these people are at the top and why they're getting promoted is because they know how to influence. The leaders at the top, that is one of the biggest commonalities that they all have. They're great at influencers. They're great at getting people to follow their ideas. And, you know, if you think about it, it makes sense. As a manager, you're not actually doing the work. You are guiding your team to do the actual work. It's the same thing as a conductor. A conductor doesn't actually play the music herself. She guides the other musicians to play beautiful music. And so if you want to achieve what those people have achieved at the top, if you want to win over these difficult stakeholders, if you want to get people excited to follow your ideas, then you have to know how to influence. You have to know what these leaders at the top are doing and be equally as skilled as them. Because the thing is, great ideas are not enough. So often I hear, yeah, but my idea was good. Even with that story I told you about David, my team and I implemented that product launch very well. And that transition, I know I did it correctly. Yet that wasn't good enough. I still had backlash. My reputation was still at risk. And it was only when I learned how to strategically approach it that I realized that I was actually how I actually need to do it to succeed. People are busy. You have to break it down for them, like why your idea is the right idea, and get them excited about it and get them over on your side. And you think about it, for example, your company, you love your company's products. Yet your company has a marketing and sales department to convince others of the benefits to buy their products. Same way as Apple. Apple has amazing products. You're probably using one or more of Apple's products right now. Yet Apple spends over $2 billion on marketing every year. If Apple has to market its products, you have to market your ideas. This is not if I have a great idea, people will follow. This is not if I build it, they will come. This is not Field of Dreams. It is noisy out there. There's competing priorities. People have different agendas. That's what was happening with David. He had his own thing that he wanted to push. He was trying to make himself look really good. That was part of the reason why that was happening. The more he puts on our work, then when he comes in and takes over this project, he can say like, here's all the issues, here's how I fixed it. So it's on me to make sure that it's really clear to him and the rest of the team and leadership why these are the right decisions. And so on all your ideas, you have to break it down for people like, why is it the best idea? Why should they care about it? Because people are busy. And if you don't make it really easy for them to understand, they're not going to try to understand. Now, usually around this time, I hear like, yeah, but some people just know how to do it. They're born with it. There's a secret language. It even showed up in the chat. They just know it. They know how to play politics. They know how to win people over. They're just natural at it. Well, the good news is there is no secret language. Anyone can learn how to influence, even introverts. And it doesn't have to feel political or icky. It's actually the best influencers do it organically. They do it authentically. They do it in a way that makes everyone feel good. Now, the way you do it is there is a strategic formula that you can follow on how to influence. We go step by step in a Sense leadership program. And if you think about it, it's really around, it's like learning how to bake a cake. When you first learned how to bake, you didn't know what you're doing, but you follow the recipe step by step. And your first cake probably sucked, probably your second one, but then it got better and you mastered it. And the same thing. The more you practice and you follow the step-by-step Ascend formula to influence, you will master it too. You will get people excited about your ideas and rally and get them to rally and support whatever you're saying. So let's show this in action. This is Kendall. She's a marketing manager at Box. Week 4 of Ascend's leadership program, she got dropped into a last-minute meeting, which her manager couldn't attend. She had only an hour and a half to prepare, and she was meeting with senior stakeholders to get approval on additional resources for her team. Now, we've all been in last-minute meetings. You know how she's feeling right now. You know she's feeling super stressed. Her nerves are running, adrenaline's going, tightness. To make matters worse, one of those key stakeholders that she needs to get approval from is a stakeholder that she finds really intimidating. He tends to shut her down in meetings. He ignores what she says. And now she has to go and actually get his attention to get approval on these additional resources. So she is triple stressed. What does she do? Well, she used Ascend's frameworks and the message preparation worksheet that she gets from Ascend to help her prepare for this meeting, to proactively address the concerns of that dominant personality, to shape her message, to storytell in a way that the message and the picture why they should approve these resources actually resonates with the attendees. She does so well that everyone signs off in that meeting on these additional resources, including that difficult stakeholder. Kendall walked out of the meeting feeling like she had never been as successful as she had just been. She felt empowered. And that's why I wanted to share her story with you, because when you know how to influence, you are able to pull it out and naturally do it in any situation, even these really intimidating, nerve-wracking situations when you meet with these difficult stakeholders. It is a huge, huge, huge confidence booster when you have habits to help you influence, to help you get buy-in. And really, the reason why I bring this up is because as you just saw from Kendall's example, when you know how to influence, that is the only way you'll be able to collaborate with these dominant personalities. If you can't influence, if you don't know how to, if you don't know how to win people over, if you don't know how to get their respect, if you don't know how to get them invested in your ideas, then you're not going to be able to work with them. Your challenges are going to stay in the status quo or maybe even get worse probably. So today we're going to talk about specific strategies that you can use to win over these dominant personalities. And in the leadership program, we go deep into how do you influence, and you go over around how do you storytell, how do you co-create, how do you build your presence, how do you enroll allies. And so as we talk about dominant personalities, let's first align on who a dominant personality is. Dominant personalities are people who don't take our ideas seriously. They are aggressive. They can be really curt. But working with dominant personalities is unavoidable. They are in positions of power. We don't have the luxury of picking who we're going to work with, right? You can't just hide or be like, I don't want to work with this person. They make me too nervous. No, you got to learn how to work with them. Because if you don't, it's actually your own career growth that gets hurt. Because it can hurt your reputation. It stalls your career growth. You're not going to get promoted when these key stakeholders aren't vouching for you. You're not going to get put on important projects. You're not going to be able to share your ideas in meetings if they're not listening to you. It can be so mentally draining and so stressful. I know, when I was working with David, it was exhausting. It impacted me so much. It made me question my competence. So much so that I remember that I would take it home with me, that stress. I remember one time sitting in a yoga class, starting to cry over the situation, which was just like so extreme. But that's how draining these kind of situations can be. And that's why I'm so excited for us to dig into this today. So put it in the chat. How do you feel when you work with a dominant personality? Put that in the chat. How do you feel when you work with them? Maybe you feel nervous, anxious, not good enough, insecure. You question your competence, small, deflated, rage, uncertain, little, gaslighted, intimidated, frustrated, irritated, frustrated, imposter, ragey, deflated, stressed, drained, tired, intimidated, powerless. These are all yes. Misunderstood, ultra sensitive, all of the above. Yep, agree with you, Anne-Marie. Anxious and small, loss of confidence, angry, cheated. Yes. And on guard, I don't trust them, triggered. Yes, yes. Self-doubt. So how we feel, you can see like so many of us go through the same thing. And we have to change it because that's the only way you're going to be able to move up in your career. That's the only way you're going to feel like, you don't want to feel angry. You don't want to feel small. And that's the path to feeling stronger, to feeling more confident, to owning it. I don't like that it makes me feel like I have to question everything, be full of mistrust. Yes, 100% agree, Tiffany. So, we've talked about why it's hard because of all these reasons. We want to hide. We feel shaky going into the meeting. We're nervous about how that person might shut us down. I shared with you how it impacted me. It impacted how I was showing up at work. It had impacted how people perceived me. It impacted my ability to share ideas. I knew I had good ideas. It had impacted my credibility. And then I took it home with me, all that stress. So it impacted my personal life too. And it's hard because these stakeholders don't take our ideas seriously. They don't actually listen when we speak. They don't respect our expertise, no matter if you have data or if you have years experience in this area. They tend to ignore us. In meetings, at least this has happened to me, share in the chat if this happened to you, I'll say something and David will totally disregard it, not paying any attention to it. And then 5 minutes later, someone else says something, let's call him Mark. And he's like, David's like, that's a great idea, Mark. And I'm like, what the heck? I just said that. It's so, yes. Okay. I see a lot of yeses coming through. So this happened to you too. Oh, this happened to my last company, gave me bad burnout. Indeed. Yep. Yeah. These are really tough, draining situations. And they don't value what we bring to the table. So they don't, you have good ideas. You have expertise. You've done the research, but they don't value that. They're not interested in that, no matter what we do. So before we dive into how do you work with them, how do you solve all these problems? Let's talk about who is a dominant personality. Because once you can identify how they tick, how they work, that is the first step in winning them over. So dominant personalities fall into 3 major buckets, and they can fall into one or more of these buckets. First, they prioritize results over relationships. They care more about hitting the revenue target, about launching their product on time, hitting their goals, than they care about the relationship itself. They're willing to sacrifice the relationship. They see the world differently than we do. 2, they value prestige. They care about your social standing. They care about, are you going to help them move to the top? Are you going to help them make the right connections in the company? Are you going to help them look good? And lack of empathy. They don't realize how they're not making you feel. So I've worked with dominant personalities and I've also been one myself. And later when someone shared with me that I was making them feel small, I was making them feel intimidated, I was shocked and so sad. That was never my intention. Now, none of this makes it okay. But recognizing what is motivating each of these people or how they're thinking, what makes them tick is really important because then you can understand how to start approaching and solving the problem. So put in the chat, which one of these categories does your dominant personality fall into? Put in the chat. Is it 1, they overvalue results, they prioritize results over relationships? 2, they overvalue prestige? Or 3, lack of empathy? All 1 and 2, all 3. And again, we're going to change it to everyone when you're responding. All 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 2, yes, 1. All right, see some common ones. 1 and just a jerk. 1 and 3, all 2. So, and one consistent theme with walking with dominant personalities, it's really important for you to show up right away up front. What value do you bring? You need to show them, like, why should they care about listening to you? How are you going to help them hit their goals? Because if they can't easily see how you're going to help them, what value you bring, then they're either going to ignore you or they're going to take advantage of you. That is just the reality of the situation. And before I talk about how can you move forward in this situation, I want to call out that they're not all bad people. People are multifaceted. So they have strengths too. Maybe with you, they are being really intimidating, but with other stakeholders, they're being very caring. Maybe they're really good at the technical skills. Now, again, like how they make you feel, if they're making you feel bad, that doesn't make it okay. When I was a dominant personality, that did not make my actions okay for whatever reasons I had going behind it. But I want to just call out that and recognize that people are multifaceted. And it's important to recognize that. And that can also be helpful in itself when we're thinking about these people. And instead of making it all about us, we're like, okay, well, there's just something else going on here also. And one big differentiator I want to make is I want to call it the difference between an asshole and a dominant personality. Because it's really important to differentiate between these two because they operate differently. So once you know who's what, like, is your coworker an asshole or are they dominant personality? Assholes don't have good intent. They don't have any curiosity. They're not actually interested in getting to the truth. Often they're very biased. They want to cause pain. They want to make you feel stressed out. And there's pretty much nothing you can do to win them over. And so with an asshole, once you recognize like this person is an asshole, you just need to learn how to work with them or potentially try to ideally get out of the situation of not working with them. Whereas with a dominant personality, there's actually an opportunity to win them over. There's actually strategies that you can use to share with them and to like gain their respect, to change that situation. And these strategies that I'm going to share with you have worked with the difficult stakeholders I worked with and hundreds of ascenders who've gone through the leadership program and have applied these strategies to win over their difficult stakeholders. And once they did that, it led them to having more thriving relationships. They got promoted. They just saw the career growth that they actually wanted, and they didn't feel stressed. So let me show you a real life example of that. This is Althea. Althea is a product manager, and she joined Ascend's leadership program because she was having trouble with a couple of dominant personalities, including the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer. And because Althea was in product, this was a really, really important stakeholder for her. The CTO was cutting her out of meetings. When she shared her ideas, he wasn't listening, which made her not be effective at her job because a big part of her ability to get her job done was she needed the buy-in from the engineering team and the CTO. This was hurting Althea's reputation. She was so stressed. She wasn't getting the career growth that she wanted. She was so frustrated. It was impacting her life. So what did she do? Well, she used the tools that she learned in Ascend's leadership program to shape her message in a way that was actually compelling to the CTO. She used the role plays that we do in the program to practice giving hard feedback to the CTO to share how his behavior was not okay and how it was making her feel. Now that is risky because when you go give that feedback, it could totally backfire in your face and make things worse. But because she was able to practice in the leadership program before she went and had the conversation, she was able to do it in a way that actually the CTO was really receptive to. All of these things worked so well that it led to a breakthrough in their relationship. It transformed how they work together. Now they have a thriving relationship. They're so collaborative. In fact, so much so that he now goes to her to proactively seek out her opinion. That's the dream, right? So let's talk about how you can start working with your dominant personalities, how you can win them over. First, win their respect. This is so, so important. So thinking about one, every time you go into this meeting, be really overly prepared, having data to back up your idea. So it's not just your opinion. That makes it stronger. Two, think about how they operate. So for many of us, we like to hear the recommendation up front, and then we want to hear how you got there. Other people, maybe your dominant personality wants to hear how you got there and then likes the recommendation. Think about how they like to process information. So you should offer that information in that way. In a Sense leadership program, we spend over a week on storytelling. How do you shape your message in a way that resonates with your audience? And our members use the message preparation worksheet they get to help them structure their comments in a meeting, in a presentation, in a hallway conversation. And that has been a really helpful tool for people in the program to work better with dominant personalities, because then they're able to follow the strategic formula to help them present a message that makes the dominant personality be like, yeah, this is really interesting. Let's dig into it. To help you win their respect, you need to be able to leverage allies. So for example, your manager vouching for you, saying, Sophie is a point person on this. You should look to her to making decisions on behalf of our team. Or letting the dominant personality know, like, Melanie has the expertise in this space. She's worked in this problem area before. Let's make sure we loop her in to make sure we get her thoughts on how we should move forward. Maybe in a meeting with that dominant personality, like the time when I had trouble getting in with David, tap a trusted colleague who's also in that meeting to help create space for you. So, you can tell them, I know we're going to be talking about this initiative. I have done a lot of research on this. I have a lot of thoughts on this. When it comes time, if I haven't had a chance to share my thoughts, do you mind just creating space for me? So then when you get to that meeting, your trusted colleague can say, like, Diane, I know you've had a lot of experience in this. What do you think? So then the attention all shifts to you. Everyone's paying attention. It's harder for the dominant personality to shut you down. And then they're also thinking like, oh, well, if this person thinks that Diana has good ideas to share, like, okay, wait, then I should probably listen too. Social proof is powerful. Leverage that. Leverage your colleagues around you. They want to help you. Yeah, it's just that most of us are busy. We don't think about it. So you have to be proactive on creating these allies for you. Then don't take things personally. Many times when someone is shutting you down, it's not even about you. It can be someone, maybe they're really under pressure at work. Maybe their manager is pushing them to make sure the revenue target is hit, to make sure the project goes out on time. Maybe this initiative that you're working on with them is really important for them because that's the only way that they're going to get promoted. Maybe they have something going on at home. They have problems with their partner. They have someone sick at home, financial issues, and they just don't have the headspace to respond back to you in a diplomatic manner. Maybe they don't even know how they're making you feel. Now, none of this makes it okay, but recognizing that it is not about you can be empowering in itself. And finally, really, and not seeing every encounter as a showdown. How many times do we go into a meeting with a difficult stakeholder and we're already seeing this as a war, us against them? When you go with that mentality, it shows up in how you come across. You're shaky, you're nervous, you're not composed. And then finally, it's important to conquer imposter syndrome. Gaining that confidence, because if you're not able to manage your self-doubt, it also comes across in how you come across. Because if you don't believe in your own ideas, then how can you expect someone else to? So the first thing you have to do is be able to conquer that imposter syndrome to gain that confidence, and then work on the other strategies. Because if you don't have the confidence, they're going to see it. They're going to see right through you. You're in it. They're going to know. And they're going to pick on that. They're going to take advantage of that. And you're not going to be able to stand up for yourself. So you have to feel confident going to these sessions, going to these meetings, sharing your ideas. So I want to share with you what this looks like in real life. Ellie, who's one of our alums, wanted to come kind of share how she's using these program strategies to help her show up better at work. Thanks for sharing, Ellie.
Hey, Shivani. I've been following along in the Slack, and oh my goodness, I am right there with you, with those of you who are talking about how do you win somebody's respect when they don't respect you. So I joined Ascend at a really low point in my career. I was just moving off of a team of a really dominant, toxic personality onto a team with another dominant leader. And I was really stressed. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was carrying a lot of this shame and burden. And coming into Ascend, I knew I wanted to stay at my company because the career growth there was huge. And I have a lot of stock options, which if you're in tech, you kind of have a golden handcuff situation sometimes. So I knew I wanted to figure it out, but there were just these really difficult men to deal with. So through Ascend, and particularly through the Ascend community, I had a lot of peers who were going through the same thing or had been through the same thing. So it was very, very validating. But to talk about how some of these specific strategies helped me, first, it helped me understand I can reframe this. I can say, here are things I can do to try to manage this difficult personality. I have a brand new relationship to build from scratch in this new manager. I'm going to employ these strategies and build a positive, productive relationship with him. And I did that, some of the stuff that Shivani was talking about. But the really key piece that helped my mental health was understanding I'm not the problem. He's not difficult at me. He's just difficult. And I'm not crazy. I'm not less than. I don't need to go get another degree or take a course. I need to just understand he's not my problem. This isn't under my control. This doesn't mean I'm not enough. There are ways that I can cope with him, and there's ways that I can compartmentalize him. And over time, that really helped me get to a better situation where I could communicate with him, where, like she was saying, I wasn't showing up to everything like it was a showdown. I'm somebody, I have a brag book, I have very documented one-on-ones. So if this guy was going to try to say that I didn't do something, I was always prepared. But I tried to come in a little bit less guns blazing. And be more collaborative. Something that really worked in my situation was this guy, like somebody mentioned earlier, was fairly narcissistic. So if he thought that I wasn't going to push him too hard and I was going to stay out of his way and make him look good, he would say yes to whatever I asked for. So I just would reframe some messages. Oh, here's the benefit for you. Oh, here's how this is going to make your life easier. That got me so many points. And it didn't feel icky. It didn't feel gross. It didn't feel like I was, doing something unethical or that didn't match with my morals, because at the end of the day, I knew if I want to move ahead, I've got to figure out how to work with this person. And if I want to move ahead, these are just some things that I have to do. And the compartmentalization and the talking to other people to validate, like, this is okay. Other people are doing this. You can get through it. Once you get to the other side, more things will open up, was huge for me and my mental health. So happy to talk later in the Q&A if any of you are going through something similar. And also would be so curious if you'd use the raise hand, how many of you are in a situation kind of like this today? Okay, quite a few.
Yeah.
See, validating. Thanks, Shivani.
Exactly. Lots of people. Ellie, thank you so much for sharing that, and how, I think there's so many good learnings in there around like recognizing like, hey, I'm not the problem. And then being overly prepared, and also just calling out like, hey, like, you just have to learn how to work with these difficult stakeholders, because we don't have the luxury of picking who we're going to work with and who we're not. So you have to know how to work with a difficult stakeholder, because if you don't, maybe you don't encounter them at this company, or maybe you're able to avoid them at this company, but then you're going to hit the same issue later on in your career. So the sooner you learn how to work with these difficult stakeholders, the faster you will be able to move up in your career. People will recognize that, the tougher projects you'll get put on. And I mean that in a really positive way, like the more complicated, more complex, the ones that drive bigger impact to your companies, because people are going to look at you and see you as someone who can drive real change. And that's what happened to Ellie. As she's been able to navigate these situations, use Ascend's tools to win over these difficult stakeholders, she's been tapped for more and more opportunities, so people see that she is capable and like able to like bring people together no matter how tough the situation is. So, I want to, just as we kind of wrap up, I want to just share with you in summary around today what we talked about is why working with dominant personalities is really anxiety inducing, why it makes us feel so small, it makes us question our competence. And I think you saw in the chat, so many of us feel like that. And then we dove into what is kind of a dominant personality versus an asshole, because it's important to differentiate between those two. And I know I saw some of the people in the chat be like, oh yeah, okay, wait, yeah, my person's an asshole. Or okay, my person's a dominant personality. And that's helpful to hear because they're like, okay, I now know what I need to go do to try to win them over. And then we talked about what are some specific strategies that you can use to collaborate with these dominant personalities. So, in a sense, we're all about action. So I want to spend about a minute or so right now for you to reflect on, from everything we covered today, what's one area you need to be stronger in to work with your dominant personality? So share that in the chat. What's one area you need to work on to work with your dominant personality? Maybe that is managing your own emotions. Maybe that is gaining their respect. Maybe that is conquering that imposter syndrome, feeling more confident, realizing that it's not about you. Maybe it's around doing something to help you get out of your own head. Or maybe it's around recognizing what bucket does my dominant personality fall under? Are they prioritizing results over relationships? Are they overvaluing expertise? Or do they have lack of empathy? So I'm gonna play some music while you do this, but put in the chat, not getting frustrated or teary-eyed. Yes, I've had so many crying moments when I have to deal with David. Managing my emotions, not taking personally. These are so good. Being confident and patient. Learn to speak up when someone disrespects me in a meeting. Yes. Don't let that shut you down. And there are strategies to help you do it in a really tactful manner. Learn how to push back when I need to. These are so good. Show ready to collaborate rather than ready for conflict. Not get overwhelmed. Assertiveness. Speak their results language. Yes, 100%. And using storytelling to help you do that. How do you speak in terms of what they care about? So about 10 more seconds. Don't overthink it. Put in the chat. What is one gap you have? What is something you need to work on? Avoid giving in immediately. 100%. Feel confident in your own abilities. Managing emotions. These are so good. I love these. So in a sense, we're all about action and accountability. Now that you've identified what your gap is, create an improvement plan around it. How are you actually going to move forward? It's easy to have a plan, but then it's so easy. It's even easier for things to fall apart. So to help hold yourself accountable, I highly recommend that you get together with a group of women who can help push you, who can help you figure out how to solve this problem. Ideally, they're from different companies, so you get a diverse set of perspectives, and it creates a safer space. Because when you're talking about a dominant personality you have to work with at work, sharing this with your other colleagues is super risky. You risk getting back to these difficult stakeholders. You risk being seen as someone gossiping or being judged or not being seen as competent. So get this group with people from other companies so you can openly share. You don't have to worry about your reputation. In a sense leadership program, we handpick every single member and curate small groups that are high caliber but low ego women. Everyone has a diverse set of perspectives with the same shared goals. And our members really love this. So if you want to do this on your own, if you want to create your own groups, go for it. That's awesome. If you're like, I want someone to just do this for me, I'm busy, and you want to get to be able to do this with an awesome group of women, then I'd love for you to come join us in a Sense Leadership Program. In the 6-week online program, you'll develop the skills to push back strategically against these dominant personalities, to understand how you should position your message that shows them why they should listen to you, why they should care, to get their attention, to help you influence at all levels, to get people excited about your ideas, be eager to implement them. to gain confidence, overcome that, and manage that self-doubt. To be able to have these difficult conversations, even when people get defensive. And really all the topics that keep us up at night, but we never talk about. If you're someone that I want that no matter who I'm speaking to, including that difficult stakeholder, then including that difficult stakeholder, and you're like, anytime I share an idea with them, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a comment in a meeting, or a hallway conversation or a presentation, I want them to say yes. Every single time. Every time you meet with that person, they're like excited to see you. They're excited to hear what you have to say. They respect what you're saying. It's like when we're driving down the street and you hit green light after green light after green light. It feels so good, right? If you want to feel like that every time you're meeting with this dominant personality, every time you're in fact meeting with any person at work, if they're eager to listen to what you have to say, they're excited to implement your ideas. They proactively come and seek out your input. If you want to be an expert at influencing, if you want your ideas taken seriously, people respect the expertise that you're bringing to the table, then this program is for you. If you want to conquer imposter syndrome, you're feeling stressed, you want to get rid of that. You want to stop holding yourself back. You want to feel more confident. And you're ready to move up faster. You want to crush it in your current role, get promoted to the next level, have a bigger impact. Then we would love for you to come join us. What makes the program really unique is 3 key things. The first is learn by doing. So everything we will do in the program has a really clear step-by-step playbook of what to do, including how do you handle situations that don't go well, as they often don't. And so when these situations don't go well, like what do? You'll get step-by-step playbooks around this. You know, our centers describe this as it's like a friend is holding my hand when I'm learning how to influence. And it's like they're even in there when I'm meeting with my manager to pitch them my idea. And you know, people say this is an emergency toolkit. No matter what happens, I know I have an ascend framework or tool they can pull to help me get through a tough situation. That in itself is so comforting. The second thing that makes it really unique is the community. You're going to be in a safe space with women like you. It is incredibly empowering for our members to realize, oh wow, I'm not alone. A bunch of the other smart, qualified women face the same challenges as I do. We already got a sneak peek into that today. You saw you're not alone. A bunch of other people have the same kind of struggles as you. Now imagine diving deeper into this and really uncovering some of these truths and how to resolve these challenges. You're going to be part of our alumni community even after the program finishes. So even after the program finishes, you can still ask your questions, share your wins, continue making friends. And the community accelerates your learning. If you think back on being in college, you're sitting in the classroom and your professor's talking and you're like, yeah, I understand this. But then someone else asks a question and you're like, oh, yeah, actually that's true. I don't really understand that piece. And now, yeah, I understand it a lot better. This happens all the time in the leadership program. And the third thing that makes it unique is the accountability. For most of us, we have the best of intentions when we want to develop a new habit, but then day-to-day gets in the way. And so we designed the program to help make sure you do achieve your goals through accountability buddies, the exercises, and a bonus accountability session. So today, I shared with you how women from all these companies and many more have been able to influence these difficult stakeholders, gain their respect, be seen as an equal partner, gain confidence, and been able to get promoted to the next level. If this workshop resonated with you and you're like, I want to spend a few weeks really developing these skills to help me actually win over that dominant stakeholder, to help me actually be able to influence in any situation, so people are excited to implement my ideas, then I'd love for you to come join us in the Sense Leadership Program, especially if you want to do it while making friends and build a network of women from awesome companies. The program starts on November 1st, and this is really for you if you want to have a voice at the table. You're ready to invest in yourself, and you're ready to be able to move into larger leadership roles. I'm so excited for how the program is shaping up. We have women from amazing companies, including these and Pandora and Samsung and many more. The energy is so good. People have already started making friends. And so the program tuition is $1,995. It's an investment of that. If you're interested, we can send you, we offer payment plans, and we also can send you a letter if you want to talk to your manager about expensing the program fee. Many people pay out of pocket because they view it as an investment in their career. They're ready for a change, especially if you right now at work, you're feeling stressed and small and you want to see, you know, you're capable of so much more and you want to change that situation. You're ready to gain the respect that you know you deserve and to be able to show up really strong. So we're putting a link in the chat to apply. It's weascend.co/apply. So Erin just put that link in the chat. It takes 5 minutes. The early decision deadline is Friday. So apply now to make sure you are accepted and you can confirm your seat by Friday. So apply now. It takes 5 minutes. Mention in there that you attend today's workshop, because when we see that, we will fast track your application and that will help you join us. So apply now at weascend.co/apply. Erin just dropped the link in the chat. With that, let's dive into Q&A. You know, I just love the energy and I'm excited for many of us to come back and work together. I see, so let's dive into Q&A, put any questions you have in the Q&A icons in the bottom right of your screen. One question I see pop up from Ashley is, what are the hours of the workshop? So the sessions are November 1st to December 10th. Every week we'll go through a new module. You'll have video lessons that you'll watch at your own pace. And then we'll come together for 2 live sessions. So the first session is on Tuesdays. It's our group discussion. That is from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And we have people from all over the world join. So we've had people, you know, a lot of people from the US, Europe, also some people from APAC, Africa. And if you're not able to attend that session, then you can also watch the recording afterwards. So I heavily encourage you to come attend live. People really enjoy just getting to meet with people. We'll have breakout rooms with 1 or 2 other people so you can dive into your specific challenges. We'll have Q&A as a group. And then Thursdays is circles. So this is a really small curated group of your peers. You meet with the same group every week, so it creates really nice bonding. And really people get to understand your challenges. So, you know, if people are asking about, you know, like when you walk into your circle and it's all online via Zoom, and when you meet with your circle of people and you share something, people are like, oh, that guy again, or that person again, or it's like, okay, you know, you need to work on this. So people love circles so much, they often keep meeting with their circles even after the program ends. And then you'll have exercises that you apply directly to your group. And the circles is either at 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific or 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you have more questions, drop it in the chat, and reminder to apply now for the program if you would like to have an opportunity to be able to join. The template for the workplace, just email us and we can, and if you have more other questions, but let's dive into more of these questions. And again, throw any questions you have in the Q&A icon that's in the bottom right of your screen. So do you ever call out their behavior, especially for when it's a peer around this dominant personality? And so for this behavior, yes, I have. That's actually a big way I won over David is I gave him feedback that this behavior was not acceptable. Also, Althea, the story I shared with you around, you know, when she was having a difficult time with the CTO, she actually told him in the feedback, like, I feel attacked when we talk. And actually what was so beautiful about the moment is that when she said that to him, he was like, I feel attacked when we talk. And they both just started laughing and it led to this transformation. But Althea, she would tell you herself, she would not have been able to have that courage to tell him how he was making her feel, or even to know how to do it in a strategic manner that allowed for that vulnerability and for him to be receptive to it if she did not know how to influence. And if she had not had that safe space to practice. So in a sense, we do a lot of role plays where she was able to practice this conversation. So when she got to this high stakes conversation, she was able to give him this really difficult feedback. So I think, yes, you should definitely call it their behavior. There is a way to do it in a really tactful manner so it doesn't blow up in your face and actually helps you move forward. That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. How do you navigate working with the dominant personality when you can't pin them down and they seem to act totally agreeable or on board one-on-one, but then not in group settings when it matters? Yes. Oh, that's so annoying. So I call that like the friendly disagreement. And so really the friendly dismissal. And really that is like when you have a coworker who's like to your face is like, yeah, I'm totally on board. But when it actually comes time to it in that meeting, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go with the other way. And you're like, what the heck? We've aligned on this. And it just throws you under the bus. It throws you off in the meeting. It makes me like feel like lose focus because I'm like, wait, this is not what I expected. And so really, when you're not able to pin them down, there's a couple strategies that you should use. One, it's really important to come with curiosity and understand what changed. So, afterwards meeting with them and be like, hey, I'd love to understand. I think there might have been some miscommunication. I'd love just better understand the situation. When we met in our one-on-one last week, we had aligned on moving forward with the plan in this way. But then when we got to the group meeting, you had chosen the other option. So I'm curious, like, did something cause you to change your mind? Did we have a misunderstanding? So understand where they're coming from. And then once you understand what that situation was or what the explanation was, then you can dig in to create a plan of action. Now, sometimes people will be able to, will ask this, will like just make up a reason when they're actually just being like dodgy about it. So then you really need to pin them down and consider giving them feedback on this. So be like, what, this has happened a couple of times, or even if it's happened once, but you want to give them feedback on it. Like, and the reason why I want to understand like why we commit to something in the meeting, but then you change your direction when we actually get into the bigger group meeting, is because it makes, to be honest, makes me lose trust. We're not able to collaborate as well. And more importantly, it actually hurts our productivity of our project. So speak in terms of what they care about. If they are doing deliberately, then they probably don't care that it makes you lose trust. They probably don't care that it makes you like feel bad. But what they do care is they care about the project success. They care about their reputation. So speak in terms of that. So try those couple things to help you really call that person out. The third thing I'll say, document everything. And then follow up via email, loop people in also so other people are on board. And so it's more out in the open. And so then it's harder for them to kind of like change things on the fly. Is a dominant personality similar to a narcissistic personality, which in the latter case seems like they'll hit you forever for calling them out? So really dominant personality, there's a couple of buckets that they can fall under. And so, for example, a dominant personality can be someone who overvalues results, right, over the relationship. And so I wouldn't describe that person as narcissistic. They can have a lack of empathy. And so they might not just realize how they're making you feel. And so, yeah, a lot of dominant personalities want to look good in front of senior leadership. They want to look good in front of their colleagues. Does that mean that they're always narcissistic? Not necessarily. And so it's important for you to like diagnose like what's driving them. Is it because they're just so focused on hitting the results, so focused on launching the product in time? Is it because they really want to look really good in front of the CEO? Is it because they're just like they feel like there's something else going on? They're just like lack self-awareness. So figure out first like what is happening in that situation, and then you can tackle it. And then when you are addressing this behavior, like I was sharing the example with Althea, it's really important to like practice this in advance and follow this formula so it doesn't blow up in your face. Because if anytime you call anybody out, even if it's someone who's not a dominant personality, people get defensive. So there is an approach to do it. So in a way that disarms them. That's something we go through a lot in the leadership program. How do you disarm that person so they are actually receptive to what you're saying? Because that's the only way you're going to get a breakthrough. That's the only way you're going to get that change. So how do you handle when the dominant personality doesn't let you finish talking? These are, by the way, really, really good questions. So I love these. Keep them coming. How do you handle when dominant personalities don't let you finish talking? It's really important to one, kind of like being really prepared. So what Ellie was talking about when she was sharing with her experience, like she already was able to like preempt like what that person might push back. And that's a skill that she really built the muscle of during the leadership program, using the tools that we had, that we offer. So it's really being really prepared when you come to that meeting. And so when they do start cutting you off, you already have some like magic words or like some backup phrases that you're going to say in that moment to keep the attention. The second thing I would say is leveraging allies. So, the example I was sharing with you is like, if you're in a meeting with people and, tap one of your trusted colleagues in advance and be like, hey, I have some ideas I want to share. If I'm not able to share it, can you create that space? So that way, when you're in that meeting and this dominant personality, Sarah, is cutting you off, then someone else can speak up and like Laura can be like, oh, Ruth, actually, I want to make sure we get a chance to hear what you're saying because I know you have a lot of insights on this. You can yourself model this behavior for others. So make sure that you're helping to create space for other people who might not be getting that space in meetings. So the more you model this behavior, the more normal it becomes for other people to also stand up for you. So that is, and then the third thing I'd say is I would own that space right then and there. Like, don't let that dominant person talk over you. So you can say like, excuse me, I'm actually not done talking. Do you mind if I just finish my thoughts? And then happy to hear what you have to say. So own that space. One thing that you can do in a virtual setting is screen share. So if someone's cutting you off, screen share, because then everyone's attention gets directed to the screen that you are owning. So screen, and don't screen share for like the sake of it, but like do it in a really tactful manner. If you're in an in-person meeting, then go and stand up and walk over to the whiteboard. Again, that grabs people's attention. So these are some strategies that you can use to be able to get the attention when someone is not letting you speak. This has been super good. Thank you so much for all these amazing questions. And really the chat was just on fire. And I really, really appreciate your vulnerability. I think so many of you opened up. There's so much just so much warmth and sharing that we can all benefit from. So thank you so much for the energy, the sharing, the courage. And I'm so glad this was helpful. I love this. We will send out a recording so you can go back and review this and remind yourself. If you found this, really valuable and you're like, I want to dig into more of this, I want to learn specific strategies around this that I can apply day to day and really have this tool set to help me have a voice at the table, no matter who I'm meeting with, then apply for a Sense Leadership Program. We'll drop the link in the chat again. It's weascend.co/apply. And it takes less than 5 minutes. Mention that you are attending today's workshop and we'll make sure you fast track your application because the early decision deadline is on Friday, October 1st. Thank you again for joining. This was awesome. Good luck with your dominant personalities. Let us know how it goes. Take care, everyone. Stay well.